Hello and welcome to Sparks, a series by Interactive Workshops. In each episode, we talk about something we can spark in work and life. From how to spark your career, to how to spark success, to how to spark a very special guest.
Oh yeah.
Lisa, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
It's Lisa Zant.
Lisa Zant from Airbus, Jonna.
And one of our actual podcast listeners, which I am a bit nervous, I won't lie.
It's really exciting.
I've not met anyone who actually listens to our podcast, hardly ever, but apparently you do listen to it.
Yeah, I do. Very interesting, actually. So great to be here.
Great to be here. Great to be with you.
And Lisa, you are at Airbus heading up the AGTP program, the Airbus Global Graduate Program. It's an incredible role. We've had the pleasure of working with you as well. Jonna, you're here as the director from the agency side of the program.
Yeah, I've got to work with Lisa. We're working quite well together so far, I think.
Yeah, it's going well.
We're not doing too bad.
Not doing too bad.
With complementary styles, teamwork.
Yeah, different leadership styles.
Collaboration, I'm hoping.
The overlap is good.
I could get fired on the podcast.
Yeah, that could happen within the next half an hour. We'll try not to go there. But Lisa, you are responsible for 500, it will be 800 graduates over the course of the next 3 years. That's a huge responsibility. How do you find that?
It's actually a great pleasure to work with so many young graduates who are willing to support the company's ambition and just join us on a really exciting journey. Airbus is really an exciting company. They work in a very interesting industry, and I think it's always a pleasure to welcome so many people in one cohort or over so many years, and get them on board.
It is incredible, isn't it, that Airbus is bringing in hundreds of grads into aerospace and aviation. The graduates themselves have spent years training and learning and studying, and then they arrive. But I was curious for you how you started at Airbus. A little bit of your story, because you've got a psychological background. How come you took a job at Airbus?
So that was actually 7.5 years ago, quite a long time already. And I started as an intern actually as well.
Really?
Yeah. So at the beginning of my career, it's my first employer, and I'm still here. I think it's a good sign. And obviously, I think there are two reasons. First is I grew up in Hamburg, and we have a very, very big Airbus site in Hamburg. So I kind of grew up with seeing aircrafts flying over me all the time, and it kind of excited me already when I was young. So I kind of had Airbus already around me at that point of time, and I think the second reason is also the product itself. Like, you get to work with aircrafts, with satellites, with rockets, with helicopters. I mean, who can say you're working for a company that produces those amazing and innovative products?
And products we all love. I mean, I was actually on an A321 Neo recently, and I loved it. It was such a beautiful aircraft. And aircraft take us, don't they, from where we are to other places to explore, to meet new people, to travel. It makes the world smaller, connects the global community. It puts our infrastructure into space for technology from satellites, and keeps us all safe with helicopters that are ferrying troops to front lines. Or the Airbus portfolio of products is really world class in terms of its technology. And I guess I can imagine you living in Hamburg with the sign on a building somewhere, and you see the campus, and at some point this graduate thinks, I'm going to apply for a job there.
Yeah, you should.
You did?
Yeah, actually. So that's when I joined Airbus actually really a long time ago already. Really the biggest part of my career so far. And I still don't want to leave. It's still exciting, and still it gives you so much opportunities to develop yourself from an intern, then having several other positions in the past.
What else did you do?
So I started in HR, working in employment marketing, and then I moved to communications because I just wanted to experience something else. Still related to HR, I guess. You need to communicate a lot working in HR.
Chris, we've got professional communications expert on the podcast.
This is good.
Yeah, it's going to raise the bar for us.
It is, yeah.
We better
We've got
We'll
a
try
professional communicator.
We'll try to be as professional as we can.
Yeah.
Is there any lessons you learned in when you're in the communications role?
Think about before you speak, probably.
That's a lesson for us right now.
Yeah.
So where did you go from there? How did you then get to be leading the AGTP program?
Yeah, so after 3 years working in comms, I was kind of looking for a new challenge, and I came across the AGTP program, which I feel like I'm still kind of connected to that young generation, but I'm also not in that generation anymore. And I felt it's a good combination to be a bit more advanced, like you've made progress since you've joined the company, since you've been at that stage of your career, but still kind of feeling a good connection to the target audience. I think that's quite important when you run such a program, that you can still put yourself in the shoes of our graduates. And I actually also like having an impact, and I think this project is really a perfect example of how you can influence the program, the development of young people. We've just started the program last year, and obviously at the start you have the biggest impact. Once it gets more into the run mode, and the program is established for a couple of years, of course you can still modify. It's never set in stone, but I just grabbed this opportunity because I feel that you really have a big impact right now.
When you grabbed that, did you have an inner dilemma, like, should I really do this? Can I really do this?
Of course. Yeah.
How did you work through that?
I probably just trusted myself. I think very often we see the things that we are probably not good at, or we see, but these are the things that I can't do. So how am I going to do that job? But I try to look at the things that I've developed over the last couple of years already, things that I can bring in, and not concentrating too much on the things that I can, but more on the things that I can provide. But I'm also still in my learning journey. Like, I'm not at the end of my career, obviously. This step is also part of my development journey, so I'm learning every day. And I like this balance of coming with some skills and competencies already, but also being super open of developing myself.
What are you developing in? What are the skills where you thought, when you thought about the job, thought maybe I'm not so good at that yet, I'm going to try to grow in that area? What are the kind of areas?
Many topics. I've also been working a lot with the coach for the last couple of months, just to work on some soft skills, some competencies. Can be, just to name a few, maybe public speaking is one, actually. So that's a good.
How are you getting on? I think you're doing exceptionally well.
There's literally
going to be probably 10 or even 20 people or 100, but over years, maybe a million view this.
Could be.
I think you're very clear. It's great. So public speaking,
a bit of project management as well. I think very often you think you're good in project management, but just because you do it somehow. But I think there's some good.
Yeah.
Chris had a little bit like that recently, didn't you, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, like you say, you think you're good at it because you do it, and you get given projects, and you're always doing tasks and things. Yeah.
But then when you get bigger projects,
you suddenly realize you're not trained at that kind of level, or to that level of detail, or
they sometimes say
it can be difficult.
What got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
And I think it's like that with a massive project. Is the scale of what you're doing is 500 to 800 graduates, 3 years. It's a huge project with so many moving parts. Because I think about a comms project, for example, it's probably relatively discreet with quite a few stakeholders, but you could then do the work, and it's a completely different logistical machine, isn't it? Building something that can work for 500, 800 people.
Yeah. Normally, you don't have to think about whether something's scalable as well. And some of the L&D projects we have, it's a one-off project that doesn't have to be scalable because it's for a cohort of 30. It's custom. Whereas the AGTP program, because there are so many graduates coming through year after year, what you've built together is scalable and had to be scalable. Tell me a little bit more about that challenge of a scalable L&D program.
What does it mean to be scalable?
Yeah.
Should I explain?
Yeah,
please explain this.
Obviously, we're starting with 65 people, and we're scaling on up to 500 people per year.
Can you just say this again? 65 people year
65?
But up to 500 people.
500.
It's a lot of graduates. I'm thinking about all their stories. They will all have a story like Lisa's as well.
Yeah.
They all come from somewhere.
Yeah.
They all saw...
Had some awareness of Airbus growing up.
They probably went on holidays, didn't they? They did their
Lived in
engineering
a
degree
city,
or their finance. And then at some point, how many people apply for these jobs to get...
We had like over 30,000 applications this year.
For 300 places.
Mm-hmm.
30,000?
33,000
33,000, 3,000. So 100 people apply for every single job. So
That's not too bad, is it?
To get a place, you have to be
You have to
99.
be top of the game, yeah.
99 problems singing bye, bye, bye. You got to beat 99.
Got to be really good.
Yeah.
Got to be really, really good.
Yeah, so we've got some really brilliant minds with us.
And are there expectations? Are there expectations very high of Airbus as well?
I think expectations are high on both sides, I guess. I think when you join such a program, of course, you come with expectations. You've made it to such an difficult recruitment process or demanding recruitment process. It's not just an interview that you do. You really go through an assessment center a whole day. And I think when you've reached that and you're the final candidate, you automatically come with some sort of expectations. But also on the side of the company, of course, we expect something from them as well. They're coming with a fresh mind. We want them to really have that pioneering spirit that we live at Airbus, and most of them have it. Most of them are really excited to join us and challenge us.
We've met some, haven't we, Chris?
Yeah, we have, and they are brilliant. They are just some of the best talent going, aren't they?
What would you think about the mood that they create and their abilities and the can-do?
They've got so much energy, so much vision for the future. They're not there to do just menial work. They are there to pioneer the future. They really believe in what Airbus is trying to do. They're thinking about years to come, how Airbus is changing, what they can contribute, not just what they can gain from Airbus. But I'm interested, Lisa, you mentioned it was partly Airbus has expectations of them. Once they join, what does Airbus want from them?
A lot of things. So certainly it's a give and get. So when they arrive, obviously they join a very exciting program. It's not one size fits all, I would say. It's really for them to create their own journey. And there are things which are certainly mandatory and things where we want them to think about what fits really to their development. So that hopefully after the 2 years, each person from the 300 or the 500 have really developed on soft skills, on business knowledge, on leadership competencies, so that they are really ready for the next step in their career.
So that they can, they're going to contribute to Airbus while they're part of the program, but we are jointly, I guess, readying them, aren't we, that when that program finishes after 2 years, they're really fully ready to embrace and contribute and grow the organisation. A bit like you were saying, Chris, they're already then committed to the mission.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like army recruitment or NASA or, there's a kind of process of getting people ready because they're going to go and do big things. It's not necessarily about reaching high status, but they're going to go and do big things. And how can we ready them? Partly also so they're ready to say yes to the opportunities that come, the confidence. If maybe they're in the same position as you, they get offered something that looks challenging to them. Do they have the courage to say, I'm going to do it. Let me take it. Let me go and live in a different country and go and try something that's really stretching for me. That's what we're trying to create together, isn't it, with those people?
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think when we speak about this pioneering spirit, pioneers are the ones that go somewhere where probably nobody has been before. And hopefully some of the graduates will have this path in front of them.
The kind of language you're using of path and journey, someone might think that that's just a nice way of saying a career, a job, but they actually do have that power of choice that they can pave their way through different geographies, different job roles as they go through the program, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even beyond, I'm part of this company also for 7 years, and not just getting stuck in one job, but really there's so many opportunities within Airbus, switching divisions, switching business areas. Within the program, obviously, of course, but also even beyond.
There's a lot of variety there as well.
Yeah. I'm just hearing the piece about pioneering as well. And I've been recently watching the Yellowstone series. I don't know if you ever watch Paramount Netflix-style box sets, but I've been watching one called 1883, and it's wagons going across to Oregon. And they're pioneering something new and they're trying to build something new. But I'm thinking that what you're doing in aerospace and aviation, the innovation that Airbus is doing, it's pushing technological frontiers. There isn't necessarily a set path for these things. So these grads have to have this kind of brave mindset and the willingness to try new things, and also to suggest new things to a very established company with 120,000 something employees worldwide. It's a huge organization. How do you create that pioneering spirit in a graduate that they think they can actually change this or contribute to this massive beast of a machine?
That's a good question.
Remember, you said in communications, think first. So.
Yeah, you got to think first.
What do you think, Chris? What do you how would you try to engender that level of courage?
I think there's a very clear strategy from Airbus in terms of what the company is trying to do, specific goals, whether it be 2030, 2050, and there's an empowerment that goes with that to say you're the leaders, you're the pioneers, you can actually make this happen, and so it's expected. It seems like from day one that wherever you are in the organisation, whether you're a graduate early in your career, whether you've been working there 20 years, 30 years, I'm sure there are people with that kind of length of tenure. You are part of what they are trying to do. You are a contributor to it.
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to get to in the program, I guess, isn't it? That they feel that confidence. And I guess the selection process means that we know that they're also capable and have high potential. And then whether they use the program, whether they really get... I know I could cruise through a program, but do I really get hold of the program and get the most out of it for me so that I can grow? I guess that's what we're looking for from them, isn't it?
Yeah, probably a growth mindset as well.
A growth...
Ooh.
What is a growth mindset?
What's a growth mindset, Lisa?
I would describe it as really being ready and eager to grow, to be ready for that challenge, ready for that adventure. Not just letting things happen, but really being proactive and being able to leading stuff as well, even if you're at a very early stage of your career, but I think we want people really to be able to develop towards not just leading people, but leading topics, leading projects. That's what I think as a pioneer, you need that for sure.
Yeah, you need that mindset. Yeah. If I could ask a little bit of a personal question as well, because we've worked with you and we've worked for you. You've got very unique leadership style. A lot of people who are in leading kind of roles are maybe more like me, like extroverted, loud, dominant. But you led us through the first 6 months of the program we've been working on together with an exceptional leadership approach, very calm, thoughtful.
Yeah.
I also, when we first started working together, we had a lot of time pressures to get our program developed, and you said to us, "You're the guys. I give you full trust." And people can say that, but we really felt it. And I was quite interested because I think you're quite an outlier in terms of you've got a very clear personal leadership style. And I was interested how much you think that is just your nature versus how much you're trying to lead in a certain way.
I'm being really honest. Actually, it's really what I believe in, giving trust to people. Sometimes, of course, you can experience that people use too much of your trust and you might get disappointed. But I think if you don't give them the trust and you don't make them accountable, it's a really difficult working environment in my view, and a difficult relationship that you have. So I'm definitely on the side of empowerment, keeping people accountable, trusting them. That's my type of how I feel comfortable working.
But you're very non-confrontational and not like a dominant person, very quiet and kind of calm. But I'm so curious where this comes from, and it's very, very effective, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You've been in environments where we had high pressure. Yeah, and Lisa's there.
Yeah, and Lisa had all the drive to get everything done. Didn't miss any of the details.
The drive is huge.
That pressure. Yeah, but it's really interesting. I think I learned a lot from seeing that process as well.
I'm definitely still results driven, I would say. If I trust people, I would like to see good performances and but I'm expecting that from myself as well. Like I would like to deliver things which are really good. Looking after myself as well. That's it's just that there's a good standard.
Okay. So there's the drive. It's the drive is that we can feel the drive, can't we, Chris?
Yeah,
the drive,
definitely.
the drive is to standards, the commitment, but
Yeah.
for some reason not pushing, but releasing.
Not
It's-
demanding, but empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as well, just thinking about your career. So these graduates are coming, and maybe they can learn a little bit from this as well. Maybe we all can. We often, when people talk about their career, they talk about how they progressed. But there's what we know on this podcast that there's also very difficult moments in their career. There's low points. There's things that go wrong. Sometimes when things seem to be going really well, when you get home or underneath, there's a dissatisfaction, or you're working really hard but in an environment that's difficult. And I'm wondering, like you seem to have a lot of resilience and strength. What are the tricky times and how you get through those? Also for the graduates, in this program, they will have difficult times. How do they get through those? How do you help us get through weeks or months where things don't feel good, or we feel doubting ourselves, or we're not getting results? Or
Maybe I can share two things which are quite important for me. There are many, many things and many theories and good advice out there. But for me, there are two very important things. First one is there are good days and there are bad days, of course, as well. And on both days, you probably need to be aware of this scenario. So that on the bad days, it keeps you motivated, but on the good days, it keeps you humble as well. So whenever I'm having a bad day, I know there are good days coming again, but also when I'm having good days, I know, not kind of
overhype it.
Overhype it,
The
exactly.
highs aren't too high. As
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, this is
Lows
maybe
aren't too low.
when you write your leadership book. This is going to be part of it. Is like how to keep everything in order. I'm thinking that I know people that are like this, and it's actually the characteristic of a very senior leader. Often, if you're leading leaders, that's the leadership style people want to follow. It's an executive leadership style. So if you're leading teams, people often want a charismatic kind of, let's get this done, let's do it together. But if you're leading leaders, they don't want that. They want someone who says, I trust you, you get on with it, I'm here, I'm stable. So maybe you're destined for the top, Lisa.
Maybe, yeah.
Would you aspire to that or not really? Many people wouldn't.
I'm actually open for it, yeah. I'm not saying that it has to be like this, but could be.
So you could see yourself in an executive leadership role one day, maybe not the very top, but some big program role or something like that.
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah,
Could be.
there's a little
I get it,
glimmer.
maybe.
We're maybe sparking something
Maybe.
there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That's
It's just
interesting.
surprising. It's something I really struggle with. I find it really easy leading teams. I find the executive hard. The bit that Lisa's really good at. I find
Right, it takes
really, really hard.
What does it take? Why do you
I
struggle with
don't
that?
know, Chris. It's so difficult. I need to get coached from Lisa.
Yeah,
But for me, I mean, you described actually in one of our other conversations, like some managers, they're really emotional, they're really high one day, and they're really frustrated the next day. I'm like that as a person. That's my nature, and I find that executive level where I've got to be above everything. Nothing's a problem. Can't get annoyed with anybody. Everything's got to be measured, calm. Wear the right clothes, look smart. I find that really, really difficult actually.
Yeah.
And
It's a very different challenge to leading a team.
maybe it's personality driven. Maybe I need to grow up. Could be both. What do you think, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, my second advice would actually be still be authentic. Like, I wouldn't even say change your... I mean, we are all open for improving ourselves and being the best self that we can be, but I would always still say be authentic because that's most reliable.
Yeah. So that authenticity. So I'll try and work on that thing. I wanted to just ask you one further thing. One thing that I found really moving on working with the graduates. They're very mission driven. Airbus is pioneering aerospace for a safe and sustainable future. And the sustainability, it's very easy to look in on an industry like aviation and think, yeah, you can talk about sustainability, but you're really the bad guys or whatever. What I found through working with Airbus, and especially through working with the grads, is the people there are 100% committed to working for sustainable aviation and aerospace. And they know that it's a long-term... So if you're judging from the outside, you're probably thinking short-term. the people that I've worked with, they're thinking long term. They know if they can work on this for 10 years or 15 or 20 years, then we can still get all the benefits of a connected world through aviation and aerospace. I'm interested kind of your how you feel about the sustainability journey. It's harder to set out on a long journey than a short one. And how do you think the graduates feel about this? Obviously, they're really committed to that sustainability. What can they actually do? What can Airbus do?
I think it's actually really purpose-driven, and I think it's a really nice purpose, the sustainability topic, because it affects us all by the end of the day. And if a company like Airbus can help to make the situation a bit better, I think that's already a nice goal. And probably that's what the graduates feel as well. They do have an impact on that journey. And even if it's just a small step or a small step on the whole journey, it might continue even beyond 2050, whatever will come then. But they are contributing to that long-term goal. And I think they really feel that they're part of it.
That's what the sense I got from interacting with them is that that's something that they're really passionate about. And
they really believe in it, don't they? Yeah.
But also, it's going to be in their lifetime, Chris. You know, they can imagine a world where aviation is fully sustainable, and in their lifetime, they've seen cars move to electric, for example. It's not something that is impossible for them.
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of the joy of youth as well, is that they want to do it. They know they can make it happen.
Can we talk a little bit more about the program for Airbus that Interactive Workshops are collaborating with Airbus to build?
And with ABA.
And with Air Business Academy as well. What has gone into it? What have you had to leave out? How have you gone about that process?
Actually, we're super happy to be working together with Air Business Academy and Interactive Workshops. Obviously, it's a huge program. It's a huge ambition. We can't do it just alone. And so there are many things that we work together on, which is obviously the very big event that's taking place once per year for each cohort. So they're attending 2 events during their journey, and they're coming together physically in one place. Obviously, they are spread across the world, so it's quite a big moment for them when they come and see each other. And we are doing lots of trainings, lots of workshops during that event. But there's more to that as well. It's not just the event that one week that we are organizing, but it's really designing a whole learning journey for them. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not just one journey applying to our graduates, but it's really trying to give opportunities for each of the graduates to design or take what they need for their own development.
So they all might have their own things they want to learn, places they want to go, experiences they want to have, and this is an opportunity to give them that framework to go and find it.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning that there's no right way, is there? So we've got to design a program that works for everybody, but also is motivating for each individual. But there's no right way, and that's one of the strange things about learning and development, is that if you're building a plane, you've got aerodynamics and the laws of physics to help you. But with learning, there's something about sparking learning that if we do what we did before, and if we do what people are expecting, then it just becomes, like you were saying, business as usual, or the run phase, and then the excitement factor goes down. So we're trying to create a program that's individually igniting and sparking people by challenging them and by equipping them. And I think the hardest part for me is joining the whole thing up. I mean, 300 grads a year in a massive 2-year program. The communications part is really, really challenging, and it sounds silly, but even the admin part of just making sure people know where they've got to go and what they've got to bring. Actually, back to your project management skills, I'm thinking that's probably hard. Designing the program is pretty easier than the admin and project
making sure
management.
people have got the right stuff in the right place.
Yeah. Have I got my pen and my toothbrush? It's harder than which modules to do and what topics. Would you say that part of it is that's big program management? It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, and you have to get it right, otherwise you're probably creating more chaos than you want.
Yeah, if you get one missing piece of information, then you've got hundreds of people asking you for it. And if you're late with one thing, you've got hundreds of people annoyed. Yeah. That's the tricky part, isn't it?
Yeah.
One final thing for me, maybe before we wrap up. We've had some brilliant senior leaders come to speak on the program. What do you think the role is of these kind of inspirational senior people? Because they've done a really good job. Why do you think it's important to get those people? We could just be working on skills, but we're not. We're also trying to expose people to the wider business. What do you think those senior people bring?
Pretty inspiring the next generation. Obviously, they come with their knowledge, they come with their expertise, and I think that's important for the grads as well to learn from them. But they come as human beings as well. They come with some advice. They've been probably on the same journey at some point in time in the past, and I think it's important as well to not just speak about business, but speak about leadership styles, speak about various ways of development, career progression, those kind of things.
So they bring that years of experience, and I'm actually realizing that those people, the ones we've had, you've done 7 years, I've done 25, but they're beyond me, Anthony. They've done 30, 40-year careers, and what a perspective to look back and be able to share your insights and your wisdom.
Yeah, they've got a lot of, from seeing the keynotes that they delivered at the AGTP week, they've got a lot of poise. They've got answers to every question, not rehearsed, but just genuine answers for these graduates. And I think it was great seeing some of those dialogues. We had people in person and people dialing in, doing those keynotes, and the dialogues, the questions, the back and forth, the debates, it was really good dialogue.
And they've got the commitment to the company.
Yeah.
And I was kind of mulling over, if you could only have one, either grow capabilities or grow commitment to the organisation, what would you put in your graduate program, Lisa? If you could only have one, either grow capabilities or grow commitment.
I'll have to take both.
If you could only have one, Chris?
It's got to be commitment,
Would you have that?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's...
You need committed people. The capabilities, you've got talented people already. The commitment is key, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting.
You did want both, but I think if I had to pick one, commitment.
That's interesting. So attitude defines your altitude. Do you think that's enough to wrap up on?
It's a good phrase.
Brilliant.
There we go.
Lisa, Sparks podcast listener.
Thank you very much for having me.
Guest.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you on behalf of 800 graduates for putting some of the really best years of your career into designing a program for them, taking care of them, being there for them, coaching them, making sure they've got their pen, making sure they've got their toothbrush.
Yeah, you do an incredible job.
You do an incredible job. And also a great role model for us as a leader. Yeah. Maybe we should get Lisa back to talk just about leadership at some point.
Oh, that would be brilliant. And communication. There's a few we could do. I'm sensing a mini-series.
And HR.
But for this one at least, thank you, Lisa, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for helping us with the program as well.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
It's an absolute pleasure. See you next time. Well, Christopher.
That was a really interesting conversation, wasn't it?
What a guest.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Brilliant.
It's funny how just a normal human being can be running an enormous program. One of the things I just noticed about Lisa, it's so understated cool. And she's like that all the time. Even when we've run an event with her with huge amount of things going on.
Yeah, loads of pressures.
Loads
deadlines,
and loads of pressure.
Logistics. And
I'm just wondering, I guess it was real inspirational to me to think actually she's demonstrating those really top level executive leadership skills. Yeah. Relatively early career stage for that kind of role.
Yeah, I loved what she said about just placing trust from the outset, placing high trust in other people. That's something I feel like I could do better. I like to keep that for myself and offer trust sparingly.
I also.
But I think I could do more of that.
And the commitment to quality and the push. There's I was at a presentation recently that Lisa wrote that she came to give, and the immediate thing was raising the bar.
Yeah.
You know? So there's no lack of drive. But I think it's really interesting to see it balanced up with the real human story, a career progression in different roles, some doubts about whether you could do it, but pushing yourself, getting a coach, thinking about the areas to improve. She said, didn't she, about really trying to stick to her strengths, knowing that we've all got weaknesses, and not to think about those too much, but to think about what she can bring. That's quite inspirational to me. I'm wondering what you think about that.
It's quite a unique leadership style, isn't it? And quite inspiring. To me, as maybe a less dominant leader, that's an inspiring level of leadership I'd love to get to.
Yeah, that's something that you could replicate. I think you're not dominant, but you're very, very good, Chris.
Thank you, Jonna. Same to you.
And it is interesting coming back to the commitment, isn't it? That's something, again, that's really important that we're trying to engender with these grads. It's great for us to do a good program for them, but if at the end of it they're not really committed to Airbus, what's the value?
Yeah, if they've grown in a few capabilities but not really captured what it is that they can contribute,
then
it's lost a little bit.
But that is part of the role of learning and development.
Yeah.
We often think of ourselves as capability developing department.
Yeah. Also
team,
commitment developing.
But we're commitment developing, and if we can invest in people, in such a way they feel more committed to our organisation and its mission, that is a really valuable use of 2 years.
It's really powerful. Yeah. Fabulous. Well, we should wrap up our podcast, Jonna. Thank you once again for joining me.
Always fun. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for watching this video by Interactive Workshops. Give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Click through to here or here to watch another video by Interactive Workshops.